have it. I'm thinking that if it's no objection with Ms. Bradley, that you can put comments, observations, questions in the chat, and she can glance at those as she begins to give her presentation. But I think that you are free to, Ms. Bradley, if it's okay, I think the people will probably raise hands and maybe ask you a few questions.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, well, with no further ado, I'm going to introduce one of those No Limit soldiers that has been doing this work for a long, long time. Senior Legal and Advocacy Services. So Ms. Bradley, if you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to let you have it for the next 30 or 35 minutes.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
And thank you for inviting me. Okay, I'm Norma Bradley. I'm the director of the Advocate Legal Senior Center that was established in 1982. It is a nonprofit organization, and it has been located in the Third Ward area since 1982. It really became a spinoff of legal services. At that time was Gulf Coast Legal Foundation. I was a senior representative in a unit at that time called the SLAM unit, Senior Legal Aid Mobilized Unit. And when Reaganomics came, that unit phased out, and I left Gulf Coast Legal Foundation, which now is Lone Star, and put together Advocate Legal Senior Center. At Advocate Legal Senior Center, we provide pro bono services and legal services on a sliding scale in the following areas. We do probating of wills. Our major thing at this time now is guardianship. We provide legal services for family members or others that are interested in becoming guardians of a family member or a loved one. We also provide legal education to seniors in the community in 17 different counties. We do the old word, what they call circuit ride. We set up a schedule, and we go to various senior citizen sites and introduce them on the different benefits that are being provided at this time. Now we have what you call a newly formed eviction pro bono clinic, which the state bar gave us a grant right before COVID, and we did a pilot study of seniors that are being evicted that could not represent themselves. So now we're finding out that these seniors are, we already know they're located in so many areas of Houston, but legal representation without access to it is really no representation. So now we're putting together a mobile eviction clinic that will go into different communities and set up 2 days a month. So talking to Mr. Omawale and Mrs. Edwards, they're concerned about several topics that you would like to have information on. Let's start out with one that's very important. First of all, when you get 90, your parents have aged already. We are the ones that are now aging. So if your parents are in their 90s, it depends on what they have put into place. And the thing that's most important for you, and if your parents are of sound mind, is to put in alternatives to guardianship. Very, very important. And those alternatives to guardianship would be looking at an individual or individuals that you would want to give your durable power of attorney to, your medical power of attorney to, the agent that you would want to handle your physician's directive. The physician's directive is a document that will let you know, let everyone know, if you can't speak for yourself, whether you want to be put on a life-preserving apparatus and the time span that you would want to be on this machine, whether you would want 1 week. So that's very important. If those, and also burial instructions. Those documents are very important to put them into place, because if something happens and the individual becomes incapable mentally or physically, and those documents are not into place, then you will have to file an application to become a guardian of those individuals in order to handle their business. But one of the most important things to look at is the person that you're going to assign as an agent to handle those documents. Do you have a question on that one? And we can move briefly on to another little topic.
How does this interact with writing a will?
Okay. Okay. Now, when you
I'm
say
sorry,
writing,
may I ask one question about the guardianship? I think people think guardianship is an immediate takeover of the person's right to do things. But having one in place once you get a certain age, considering the potential of a stroke or heart attack or some other unfortunate event, prevents the court from signing an attorney whose first thought is to make money on their client. So the guardianship is not one that's, well, my opinion, and you should address this, is not one that actually hurts your mother or your father or your sister or your brother. It is actually a fort around them to provide a way for a unknown person who's an attorney who is looking to be paid to do what you could do.
okay, let me give you some input on that. First of all, a guardianship cannot be put into place for an adult unless you are mentally or physically incapable of handling your affairs. And when you file the application, you have to have a physician's statement stating that you are incapable mentally or physically to handle your affairs. What avoids what the lady is speaking of is what we were talking about: alternatives to guardianship. Alternatives to guardianship are the ones that I was just telling you: power of attorney, medical power of attorney, durable power of attorney, physicians' directives, do not resuscitate. All of those documents, if they are in place, will protect you from having to be put under the guardianship regulations. Guardianship regulations can become very devastating. This is something you do not want to get involved with if it's possible. Guardianships can take all of your loved ones' money by legal entities filing all kinds of documents in the court, by a family member disagreeing, which we have one such as now, disagreeing of one member applying for guardian. All of that can take up that estate's money. You be very careful. You do not want guardianship unless it is absolutely necessary. Because that way, I am a guardian, a Texas certified guardian. I travel in all counties. The power we have, not all of us consider the family member. Not all of us consider the closeness of the nursing home to the family members. A lot of us looking at moving them that were convenient where we travel. Get those alternatives into place. So we can, if you have another question, then we can move on to another topic that will tie into these alternatives that will protect you or your loved one. So you have any more questions on the alternatives to guardianship or the guardianship system? Okay, let's talk about this one now. If an individual, we'll use me for an example. I have a home. I have grown children. I become disabled and I have to go in a nursing home. Once I get into the nursing home, eventually I have to apply, or you go in immediately applying for a Medicaid bed. Depending on how that home is protected, once you get Medicaid and you pass away, Medicaid can file as one of the debts that's owed to the state and attached to that home. The major way to avoid that is called a ladybird deed. A ladybird deed is a deed that will protect you immediately. If you do a warranty deed and you deeding your property, your home we're talking about, to someone, we'll say, if I'm doing a warranty deed and deed my home to my son, that will immediately disqualify me for 5 years for Medicaid. Medicaid have a law, you cannot give away anything within 5 years. So if I did that today, I will have a 5-year waiting period before I could apply for a Medicaid bed in a nursing home or Medicaid benefits, period. The way to avoid that is to do what you call a ladybird deed. You can be told by the doctor or your family members they need to go into a nursing home next week. The day you get ready to go into that nursing home, you can draft that ladybird deed. That ladybird deed still gives you rights to your home. It's like a life estate, but what's different in a warranty deed, if you gave a life estate and you file that deed, you can't change it. A ladybird deed, it's giving you keeping all of your rights to that property, but it still belongs to that individual you're doing it to. So that's the kind of deed that will protect an individual when they go into a nursing home if they're going to transfer the property before 5 years. You have a question about that?
Miss Bradley, this is David Johnson.
Okay.
You're saying Medicaid.
Mhm.
Medicaid are state-sponsored benefits, am I correct?
Medicaid is government and state. But in a nursing home, they would be the state. But they're governed by the amount of money you receive is a government and a state entity. The state puts in so much money to match with the government.
Okay, okay.
Medicare is
Now,
only a government entity.
yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
Now, what I'm trying to clarify is the situation you're speaking of. If all of that's not done, or if you deed your property to someone, you're saying Medicaid won't pay, or you can't apply for Medicaid for 5 years. Does that also include Medicare?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. So just the state part of the benefits would not be available.
Okay, listen to me. If you do what you call a warranty deed, you have a 5-year waiting period. You're penalized for 5 years to apply for Medicaid.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that part.
Okay, because you're giving the property away.
Right. And what I'm trying to clarify is
Listen to me, Mr. Johnson. If you do a ladybird deed, that law will not affect your Medicaid at all. You could do it today and apply for
ma'am.
Medicaid today.
Miss Bradley, I understand all of that.
Okay.
All I'm trying to clarify is the situations you put forth will only affect Medicaid, which is the state portion of the benefits. Or will it affect?
Yes.
Right. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
But I think for nursing homes, Medicaid is everything that you can get. Medicare does not pay for nursing homes.
No. When Medicare will take care of when you go into a nursing home, depending if you, so we'll use this, depending if you're in a hospital. They can transfer you from the hospital to the nursing home, and you have what you call 120 days. Now, they might reduce that, but Medicare will pay for it. Then that ends, and you become either private pay, or you have a long-term care insurance, or you will go Medicaid. Okay, let's see. Why don't we talk now about, see that part in there, what I'm talking about, that will prevent the state from taking over your property. Now let's move into independent versus an assisted living situation. Most independent living situation is the person is basically independent, but they care not to live alone. They might need a just amount of looking in by the staff to see if they okay, providing different services. Some of them provide their high scale. We'll look at one since you're familiar with Houston. They have a high rise on Old Spanish Trail next to Luby's. That's an independent living facility for some of the seniors. They have a dining room where you go down and if you want to, you can eat meals. They have a workout room, and they have an individual that checks on the residents. All right, Now, the assisted living facilities, you have some seniors. They begin to fall, or their memory begin to kind of fail. They leave food on the stove and it burns, or they forget to take their medication, but they are still physically highly functional individuals. You would look at placing them in an assisted living facility where they have someone, or you can do this, you can get a Medicaid assistance in your home, but in assisted living facility, they could have their own apartment, but you have individuals that come and check on them at night or provide services to help them take their medication, and they would provide meals also if that individual needed to have someone to prepare their meals, and they would provide home provider services right there on site. So that's the difference in your independent living and your assisted living facilities. Do you have any questions concerning that? You know, this is a good group. Everybody's up on everything. Maybe I could use some of you as volunteers. That's good. Okay, now let's do it like this. What would you like to ask? What type of questions would you like to ask me?
This is Jimmy White. With the assisted living, would you repeat again how much help Medicare would give a person if they wanted to live with assisted living care? Because with the homes, they do different things. Most of them will not help you with medication unless unless it's private pay, or almost everything is private pay that I'm aware of with the assisted living. Am I understanding that correctly?
Not all of them. It just depends on what type of assisted living you're looking at. You have what you call group homes. The group homes, depending on the incapacity of the individual, if that person, we'll just say, if that person is already receiving Medicaid and they're living at home, then when they transfer to assisted living facility, they would transfer them to one that's Medicaid accessible. Medicare, go ahead.
I was more interested in people who are not receiving any Medicaid nor have ever applied to Medicaid. In the assisted living facilities, it's been my experience that most services are private pay. Is that your experience? When I say most services, I mean like the medication, to administer the medication, to help in bathroom activities, things like that.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. Let's do it like this. This person is on Medicare.
Yes.
Medicare only will be the same as if it was in a nursing home. They will not pay for everything at that assisted living. They'll have a time cut off. That's when that individual, if they qualify, can apply for Medicaid within that assisted living facility. Am I making sense to you? Medicare is not going to take care of an assisted living in an indefinite period of time.
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to have private pay, or you're going to have to switch to Medicaid.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any more questions in that area? Okay, Let's go to Miss Nancy. Let's go to, you were asking me about you writing your will. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Okay,
you.
all right. Now, were you speaking of handwriting your will yourself?
Well, I brought this up because I know that there's can be difficulties about having a will, not having a will, and especially in low-income communities, that not having a will can result in a lot of complications. So I'm wondering, what's the best way to get a will if you're a low-income person?
Okay. There are agencies that annually, an advocate used to do that, but we don't anymore, have a will-a-thon. One of the agencies is Volunteer Lawyers. Around March, they have a will-a-thon. And at that will-a-thon, you can get your will drafted with no fee. South Texas School of Law also have a will-a-thon. The Earl Carl Institute at Texas Southern School of Law, they have a will-a-thon. And then at times you have various churches in the community that put on will-a-thons. And then you have Baker Ripley, that's a senior program, and they put on will-a-thons. One of the ways to find out when these different events are happening is to call Area Agency on Aging and be placed on their educational list. You need to join them anyway. Very, very good resource. Now let's do it like this. You brought up a handwritten will. A handwritten will in the state of Texas is called holific will. This means if you do this will, make sure, not a holographic will, I'm sorry. If you do this will, make sure you have 2 witnesses. I don't advocate that you do this, but it's better than nothing. 2 witnesses with their contact information, address, phone number. Now, because these witnesses will have to verify your signature in court. Now, what you're taking a chance on is getting, if you get some of your friends, all of our futures are shorter than our past. And they sign your holographic will and they pass away before you do, and you don't change it. That could create an expense in the probate court because you're going to have to get a handwriting analysis. You're going to have to find someone else that can verify your signature. But if all else fails, that will be something that you have in writing.
Bradley. Ms. Bradley,
Yes,
this is David Johnson again.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, I stepped out of the room and you were talking about a holographic.
Will.
Okay, and that is?
That's a handwritten will.
Oh, handwritten.
Uh-huh.
In your personal handwriting.
Yours.
Okay, now let me ask you, what about video wills?
What about a video?
A video will.
When you, okay, uh, videoing you, donating stuff to your heirs? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is just as a handwritten will or a will that is prepared by an attorney, a legal entity. What about a video will? If you, the individual, want to take a video and say what you need to say and dispense how you prefer to have things disbursed after your passing. How does the court view those kinds of wills?
That's one of my, probate in that area was not one of our specialties. If you had a video, then we would send you to someone that's really have an expertise in that. Our pro bono attorneys, that's very extensive time for them to donate. So I would not want to speak on that
Okay.
because I don't want anyone to say, well, Ms. Bradley said it would be okay. I can't do that.
Absolutely, I understand.
Mhm. Your
Thank
best thing is to have your will drawn up, everyone, to make sure you have the legal language in it. We're having, when I say we as a legal clinic, knowing of a very close friend of ours had a relative recently to pass away in another city in Texas. And they found out maybe 4 years before the relative passed away that they are now a multimillionaire. The brother, anyway, they have a will that's not up to par and everybody is fighting. Whereas if they had gone to an expert in doing probate and wills and estate, that could have been avoided. If there are too many free resources out here to have your will drawn up, to take a chance on a holographic will or video will. Okay, we can move on. Are there any more questions or information you'd like to know?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. White?
Yes, I was just going to mention to some people that if you make a will and the people in the will die before you do, or if there are young children and the parent is your relative that you leave it to, now the spouse is in control, you might want to have somebody to address those issues. And that's why she's saying that if you go to someone who specializes in wills, they can come up with things that we personally, like I never think about my child dying before me, but all of these things are possible. So you need to, I was just emphasizing what she said. Thank you.
Jimmy and Ms. Bradley, I'm hoping that you can speak to the kind of trust that you can establish. I forget the name, but you can put assets into the trust. If you do it within a certain framework, it can exempt them from the type of exempt assets from the type of valuation that they use to determine whether or not you're eligible for Medicaid nursing care services or not. What is that trust called?
That trust is called a special needs trust.
Okay.
And in that trust, you really need to go to, and we have some referrals, which I want to do that. And what you really need to go to an attorney that specializes in elder law.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
The reason why I mentioned that is that when I said we have one, our family has one for my sister-in-law.
Okay.
And, but we were using some other name, and I was asking Jimmy if she could think of
It
the
was
name.
called I guess the common name or colloquial name is the Miller's Trust.
That's
And
called,
the reason
okay, go ahead. Uh-huh.
the reason that we were using that is the same reason I tell people income is a factor, but it is not a denier of Medicaid. You can still receive the nursing home coverage. Not talking about all the can you get it such as that, but the income will not be a factor if the person has a Miller's Trust. That, for instance, if a nursing home, which they do cost between $4,200 and $5,500 per month, so even if you had $150,000, you may run out of all resources by the time, in a year and a half. But that Miller's Trust provides you with income protection, and all the taxes that we've been paying since the time we were 18 up to now, that person can now receive some benefit from the government to help pay that $4,200 to $5,500 per month nursing home care once they are on Medicaid.
Okay. The trust you're speaking of is called a qualified income trust.
Yes. Right.
When you go into a nursing home, we'll just say you have $150,000 and you have a spouse. First of all, the way it got the name of Miller years and years ago, if individuals were married and one went into a nursing home and needed to have Medicaid, which most of us did at that time, that would take all of the spouses' money. And it was creating what you call spousal impoverishment. Senator Miller came out with a law, and it's called the Miller's Trust, where you cannot create spouse impoverishment, that spouse is qualified to have half of that $150,000 because they have bills, responsibilities that will continue after their spouse goes into a nursing home. So this is how it works. When your spouse enter into the nursing home, that's what we were talking about. They're going to look at all the income. Medicaid says, in order for us to cover that individual for a Medicaid bed, that per one person cannot have over $2,000 to their name. If they have, we'll say 5,000, they have to do what you call a Medicaid spend down. They will have to spend that down to $2,000. All right, the $2,000, if you have a spouse, I think it might be $3,000. What you will have to do is go in and you present all of your bills. They're gonna take portions of that check, maybe all, depending on if it's Medicare and Medicaid. And they're gonna pay that nursing home fee, that Miller's, that qualified income trust is a glorified checking account. And at the end of the month, you're gonna have to show that you have spent all of that money out of that account. So you have different someone right here, thank you, Gladys. You're gonna have to fill out a form. You're gonna have to have the qualified income trust drawn up, and you will submit it to the Department of Health and Human Services, and then to see if you qualify. It does not automatically take place. You have to apply for it. And if you are over the amount of income, that's when maybe a special need trust will be able to kick in and still save you the money, and you still qualify for Medicaid. You have any questions concerning that?
Well, folk, I noticed that Ms. Brantley, our own KC, has been putting information in the chat. I hope that you all are capturing these links in terms of Medicaid spend down, special needs trust, will requirements, Lady Bird deed. Most of the topical areas that Ms. Bradley has spoken to is that she's trying to get some, I guess, supporting information about the topic areas that we have spoken of. So I'm hoping that you have captured that. Ms. Bradley, I think that, you know, if we were compensating you, you know, we would have undercompensated you because the information that you've given us this morning is beyond any type of payment arrangements that we could have made. I hope you know, your remuneration is just your dedication to public service. I would like for you to tell us just a little bit in closing about if somebody wanted to make a volunteer donation in terms of time, or if they wanted to give a material contribution to this senior mobile eviction program that you're coming up with. And would you tell us a little bit why it has to be mobile?
Okay, we have, like I was saying earlier, the state bar, just before the COVID, we got a grant to put together a eviction, pro se eviction clinic for seniors. That means they come and we guide them on filling out their applications concerning evictions. We guide them on where to go and file for their hearings and the different information that they will need and how to attach those exhibits. Well, in doing this, which I already knew, but I didn't put it in that because it was a pilot program. We have seniors all over Houston that they have no access to come across town to the pro se eviction clinic, lack of transportation, lack of connecting with MetroLift, and some of them they can't comprehend exactly what we're talking about. So now we see there is a need for us to do what I used to do a long time ago. It's called circuit riding, is to go into these various communities and take the eviction pro bono clinic with us. So you have a lot of seniors that live close to the multipurpose centers, like in Acreage Home, Sunnyside, Cashmere Garden, in various areas of the counties. And that way, taking it to them, they will have access. We are also seeking fundings for this and other advocates to work with us to do some of the footwork, because some of these seniors cannot get these applications filed in the JP court because they can't make it there. So we are working on that now. We're asking for donations. we're putting together proposals and budgets for different agencies to file, to apply for grants.
Yeah.
If you're interested in volunteering or giving some input on where resources are available or donations, or if you need some of our services, please give us a call. Write the number down,
Yeah, please give us that number.
832-393-4074.
Okay,
Advocate is a very, very valuable access to seniors in the community that family members are applying for guardianship. Because you have a lot of people, that's why we do a sliding scale. Their income is too high to go to different various legal services, but it's not high enough to afford $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, and $8,000.
Ms.
So,
Bradley,
mhm.
Bradley, one more time, the name of your organization.
Advocate Legal Senior Center.
Okay, thank you.
If you have any attorneys, we provide legal training for you if you want to do guardianship, and you can add that to your practice. Thank you.
Thank you.
okay. Well, I tell you what, if anybody wants to give a shout out and applause to Ms. Bradley at this particular time, based upon the strength of the information that she's given, you're certainly welcome to at this time.
Lord, Ms. Bradley, this is mighty powerful stuff.
Well, thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Mhm.
I see that a friend of mine is online, Judon Boney.
I saw him earlier.
Huh?
I saw him earlier on there.
Yes, okay. He helped us years ago write some grants.
Right.
Mhm.
There he is. He's on there. Yeah.
Hello.
Ramboni, Judon. I think his mic is probably still, but
Okay.
at any rate, it was invaluable what it is that you've given us. We really have need of some more dialogue. I hope that you'll be open at some point by popular demand or popular request that we might ask you to come back, because I think that people now can prepare some more specific questions regarding the needs that they have. So Ms. Bradley, stay tuned. I will speak to Paula Johnson, who is over aging and eldering agent at the city of Houston, PhD, about how they might can assist you in this search for funding for the mobile clinic. So I would take responsibility for that. And the second thing that I would say is that in terms of trying to marry some of your services with some of the other agent services, I would certainly also try to link some of those services to you. I don't know if many people are familiar with the Earl Call Institute and what it is that they do. I'm thinking about also the fact that some of these things are cross income or beyond income, because I think about Nancy mentioned, some of the needs in the low income community with wills, but I'm reminded of the fact that James Brown and Aretha Franklin didn't have wills. And they had to undergo the probate process. So this is information that we've have to begin to get out in the information. I'd like to talk to people that's going forward about what happens when the court tries to seize assets, in terms of the difficulty of pushing back when the court tries to seize assets, including your interest in air property. Just based upon personal experience, I know that we had to spend tens of thousands of dollars to hold the state probate courts off from seizing property and trying to get somebody out of a oppressive guardianship. We were successful, but it took a lot of blood and a lot of money in order to do that. So I think that this is a legitimate area for discussion that we will have among us. And Ms. Brantley, in behalf of For a More Perfect Union, I'd like to just give you a very, very deep thanks for being with us this morning.
Oh, thank you
Excuse
so
me.
much. That's what
Excuse me.
I try to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
This
Thank
is
you.
Ora Smith. You hear me? This is
Okay.
Ora
Uh-huh.
Smith. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
Yes.
I can.
Maybe the next session, we can hit on scams and fraud.
Okay, why don't we look at maybe me coming in and doing a training session because with your board, because these topics are very important, and that's what we do, educate the elderly on all the vices and the mazes that are out here to help them be able to maneuver through the rest of their lives as safe as possible, or be able to tap into as many benefits and how to prepare for these. These are things that we're doing now. So I'd love to, just let me know. Maybe I can come out to you or what have you.
Okay.
Well, I was thinking it would be informative for more people. I'm not a part of a board or anything. I'm just listening in on the session that I've thoroughly enjoyed and very informative. But just like the one you did today, I think a lot of people might be interested in one covering fraud and scams, especially with the elderly.
Okay, let me share, let me share this with you. You don't have to be a part of a board or a group, you're part of a community.
Mhm.
And if you're part of a community, you have a civic club there, or you have a
Okay.
church there, or you have a
Mhm.
multi-service center there. And so you have
Mhm.
other people that would also benefit from that. And we would be
Mhm.
able to do it in more detail to cover
Mhm.
that. And then you would get some handouts and different, even the police department could bring you handouts and how to recognize. This is a very detailed area. Now I can cover it like we did today, but it's only surface cover that I will be giving you. But if you'd like
Mhm.
one in more detail, get your civic club together, get your family reunion together. It's good that everybody, things have changed. You need to be educated, but education without knowing how to apply it will just sit there also.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, well, Miss Oral, we will certainly work with you on a presentation on scams and frauds. And I know that there's some other agencies
mhm,
associated with the area agency on the aging who would love to address that topic, and they have a community education division about that. And HPD also has so we have connections with all of those. And so, Ora, that is something, especially with a little prompting, that I will look into for a future presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Ms. Bradley, we're gonna get into just a few of our business items, but you and I will be talking. I'm gonna see the mayor in a few weeks, and one of the things that I will talk to him about is this moratorium idea on evictions. I know that some other cities have it. They put it in effect, especially in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know about Los Angeles, but I know that even in New York, there's been a lot of talk about a moratorium on evictions. And I think that Joe Biden actually imposed a moratorium on evictions for about 18 months during
they
the
did. Mhm.
pandemic. So
They do.
at any rate, I think that in terms of our people power, we can be effective in this area regarding evictions. I do know the training that she's speaking of a little bit about it because I've been in JP court many times when people are being evicted and tried to defend some people from being evicted. So this is training that is very much needed. Again, Ms. Bradley, your agency is just absolutely vital to the well-being of our community going forward. But on some of these other issues that we need to mention going forward, I wanted to mention to everybody here, there have been so many things happening that we need to talk. And I think that we're going to have to structure ourselves a little differently in order to have the conversation.
I'm gonna sign off.
Thank you, Ms. Bradley. God
All
bless.
right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what I wanted to mention is that things are happening at such an accelerated pace. Is that the purpose of Far More Perfect Union was basically to keep the democracy, to re-envision a new America and what could be accomplished in America, where America was a place where no person or no group of people would be oppressed. That's the way we started out. But there have been some things that have been happening that we haven't gotten a chance to discuss. We can't discuss them today, but I just wanted to mention we need to talk about the Kansas vote, which I'm calling a vote for reproductive freedom, which it shocked everybody. And I need to know, we want to find out, I'm trying to see how much time, we probably have about 15 minutes left. But we need to take a stab and see what does that vote mean for the nation and the state, a deep red state like Texas going forward. So I was wondering if we could get somebody to lead that discussion, get an expert in, or maybe even somebody like Dr. Roberson from the, he was from the Institute for Critical Studies downtown. And matter of fact, David Johnson wrote a very nice resolution that we gave to him. But just asking people, do you think that we ought to have somebody to come in to talk about the implications of the Kansas vote on reproductive freedom?
I'm in if all the other group is, if everybody else is.
I agree. I think it's a good idea. And I wrote a letter to the editor on that. I don't know if anybody saw it, but
No, I didn't.
At the Chronicle?
so yeah, and they printed it, believe it or not. They printed my letter, and they printed a letter from a woman with the, I don't know, Women's Jewish World Federation, something like that. A couple of weeks ago, I think it was. And I haven't been, I'm probably on the blacklist in among the Catholic bishops, but that's okay. I have been there before. And so I'll send out, I could send a copy of my letter, because I'm just, well, you can see what I wrote.
Well, Bob, this is David, man. I think I read her letter, saw her letter in the op-ed about the effect that all of this has had on the Jewish community, because they don't have an issue with it.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to go back and read yours.
Yeah, it was printed at the same time. I'll send it to Mawali. I'll send it over to you, and you can decide. You can send it out from whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly will. I'll share it with everybody if you send it to me. Another thing that we need to have some discussion and reaction on is that I guess the emerging aggressive stance of Merrick Garland in terms of I'm calling a movement to determine if there's been any criminal intent and whether or not He's going to use our resources to actually protect, to bring into real meaningful existence the idea that, the notion that nobody is above the law. So it appears that Merrick Garland is getting a new steam, and I think that we need to talk about where does this end or where does this go?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if anybody thinks about how that can be structured, please let me know. I think that we also need to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act, what this means in many areas in terms of Medicare and prescription drugs, climate change, and many other provisions that were in this Inflation Reduction Act. It seems that a number of things happen whereby the blue might not lose the Senate and might not take a terrible drubbing in the House based upon some of the things that have happened. So we might not be in as vulnerable position as we thought we were going to be just legislatively come November. And I imagine that everybody's paying attention to what's happening post Uvalde and the governor's election and things of that nature. And everybody is mobilizing their networks to get out the vote. Okay, so I'll look into how we might do that. There are several things on the web that YouTube that are important to that. And also I wanted to mention that September the 7th is the date for the press conference on rolling back, amending 1927, which is permitless carry. That's the tentative date. We're just waiting on the mayor to confirm that date. I'm using most of your names as supporters of rolling back and curbing permitless carry. If you have any concerns or qualms, you need to get in touch with me because your name will be on the flyer. I think I made this request once before, but
You can put my name on there about 5 times, man.
okay, all right. Okay. If it's no law against it, you know, I'm sure that, well, I know if this was the Middle Ages, Atwood from his defiance would have gotten a guillotine from the Pope.
Ooh-wee.
But it's nobody really, I think, that is interested in I guess lacerating or beating us up over signing our names to this document. But I didn't want anybody to think that Omowale went forward putting your name on a public document that's going to go out in many quarters without getting permission. But that's going to be a big deal because it's 1 year ago that September 1, 2021, that the act of permitless carry was passed. And so we started working, it was passed September 1. We started building opposition to it September 1. It became state law September 1. And so it's been 1 year. We tried to do it exactly on that date, but we couldn't do it on that particular date. I am going to let you know that one of the venues that we tried to do it at, and I'm gonna mention their name, Crime Stoppers, we found out that they are one of their major sponsors, donors, is a gun manufacturing company. And so it appears that the NRA and the minions associated with them is that they have penetrated a lot of public organizations in terms of vast amounts of money, which speaks to the fact that they are compromised, or perhaps they are compromised in their decisions. So I just wanted you to let know that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good information, Wally. Thank you.
Yeah, I think eventually we might do something like David did in terms of an op-ed piece or letter to the editor about how our institutions have been compromised. Some of our major commercial institutions like Mattress Mac, they are all tied up in that web with those far right elements.
Yeah.
And I say far right, I'm hesitant to say the extreme elements, but they have been supporting everything from the Tea Party to the NRA, and I'm not sure that they support the Marjorie Greene elements or not, but you know, we'll find out since it seems like that they're going further cuckoo every day.
Well, you know, there was Wally. There was that opinion piece in the Chronicle signed off by Senator Whitmire, Mattress Mac, and the lady who heads up Crime Stoppers. And basically, what it said was the response to crime was more police and harsher penalties. That's what I picked up from it. And they didn't talk anything about root causes, nothing about root causes of desperation and, the things that go into when people commit crime. And so I wrote a letter to the editor on that one too, but you can only get, letters in every now and then. And, but I wrote a response because, and I said, of all those people, Whitmire ought to know better. He's head of the Senate Criminal Justice Committee. And to just say that it's all to do with, if you're going to get more police and you're going to get harsher sentences, you're going to solve those crime problems. It's just not going to happen. And we're already sending people out of Harris County, to Louisiana and West Texas because we can't handle everybody. It's very expensive too. But I agree with what you're saying about, this, I think everybody sort of likes Mattress Mac, because he does some stuff in the community, but he seems to have joined up with some of these groups that are maybe not so good.
Yes.
Man, that's a surprise about Crime Stoppers. I could never thought anything like that.
But the New York Times, you might research it, Johnson, did a expose on how Crime Stoppers was a victim of mission creep in Houston by becoming a whipping boy to try to destabilize, undermine Democratic judges. So there's a big article in the New York Times, a nationwide article. And matter of fact, Johnson, if you would look at that and report it, I've requested a meeting with the chairman of the board of Crime Stoppers, and they have indicated that they would meet. And that's one of the things that we hope to raise with them, but we want to make sure our research is in order whenever we have the meeting, because this is very distressing.
How far back was that article, man?
Decades of work against rape and murder, and to see Crime Stoppers take such a turn like this is really bothersome.
How far back was that article in the New York Times, brother?
It had been in the last 2 months.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it had been the last 2 months. You just put Houston Crime Stoppers in New York Times search engine, it'll come up. And
all right, cool.
Let me mention that on the 30th, excuse me, I'm just getting my dates right. The day is the 13th, that's the 27th. Congressman Green wanted to come in and talk to us primarily about Slavery Remembrance Day and also about his work on his committee. And I told him that it would be okay. Now, on the Slavery Remembrance Day, there's going to be a breakfast at the Power Center that's going to be next Saturday. I think it starts at 9 a.m. And I told him to hold 2 tables. We might have to cut it back to 1 table for a more perfect union. So if any of you, and I would urge you, if you know anybody who would like to attend, there's no charge to this breakfast. And it also gives us an opportunity to recruit more folks in this anti-gun violence trauma movement with our petitions and information to be there. So I would hope that you all would let me know if you might want, if you're available to attend.
What's the date on that, Omawale, again?
27.
27th of August?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Brother Omawale, what date and time is that press conference with Mayor Turner?
Now, I'll September the 7th, and we can't nail down
A time?
Yeah, because of the, we're waiting on the mayor because we have it planned for the legacy room at City Hall.
Okay.
But I definitely would like to see as many faces as I can, especially those of you here for that press conference, because we have about 40 to 50 organizations and we have a few hundred people who have signed the petition. But the question is, a lot of these people can't be mobilized, but we're going to try to live stream it at the same time. So I think we're going to be successful. We pretty much have all of the planks in place to live stream the event. But Johnson and team, I'll be giving you some found details, hopefully no later than Monday or Tuesday as we begin to move forward on challenging this 1927 law. We've talked to most of the Democratic caucus, including Dutton and Representative Alma Allen and Ron Reynolds, and they're going to try to present some kind of legislative alternative. Now, the good thing about some of the Crime Stoppers people, they are helping us to reach out to center people, middle of the road and Republican people to try to see if they can get them to come on board with this. And so that's one of the good things about this unity without uniformity approach. Well, folks, that's basically it. As we begin to check out, we're going to try to give you an opportunity to check out any way that you want. I think that a lot of the incremental things that you have done, many of us have been doing over the years, is beginning to have some attain critical mass, because I look at the fact that Bernie Sanders was unsatisfied, but he was thankful that we did get that $400 billion for climate change. And this came from a lot of tiny inputs from a lot of tiny people over a long period of time. So I think that we deserve to give the blue and the progressives, I think that we deserve to give ourselves to some extent some applause, but we can't rest upon our laurels and can't take a victory lap because there's a lot to do. So let's start from left to right and give an opportunity for Nancy Edwards to check out in any way that she wants to.
Well, I'd like to say I appreciate Ms. Bradley and all the information, and I have clicked on the 3 dots and saved the chat, so I have all the information. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, because I'm learning that now that you can click on those 3 dots, which I did not know. So thank you, Nancy. Reminds me of that African proverb, to know nothing is bad, but to learn nothing is worse. Okay, thank you, Nancy. Dr. Bob Randall, if it was easy, it already would have been done.
Yeah.
You might,
I second that. I saved it also, so we both have it saved. But I really appreciated the work that Ms. Bradley is doing. It's always so, I don't know, empowering and exciting to run into somebody who is an activist and a longtime activist, and all the things that they're doing made me, one thought I had, though, it's just about the whole business, is that a lot of seniors are actually caretakers for children. And so I wondered about, that's a totally sort of different subject than what she was talking about, but all these eviction stuff and all the illness problems also have ramifications for children in schools, for example, whether they actually can keep going to the same school or they have to move. And there's an enormous amount of other stuff going on that all of these senior issues impact. And I think that when we talk about seniors, we sometimes don't think about what those seniors are doing for children as well. So it's just a different subject, really, but it's not something we should ignore. Because some of the children in HISD, I don't know, they go to 4 schools in 1 year if they're bumping around for where they're living.
it's an incredible discussion that you raised, Bob. I'd like to chime in at some point about what it is, because you touched a real warm and sore spot with your comments. Ramboni, Judon Boney. Ramboni, we're gonna move on. Almost wanted to say, called Judon cellmate or jailbird from some of our endeavors. I don't know if he still appreciates being called a jailbird or a cellmate. But anyway, we'll talk going forward. David Atwood.
Well, as usual, it's always wonderful to be with this group of people, and I learned so much, and I appreciate you, Omawali, getting us together like this. And I think even though there are many bumps in the road, we are slowly moving towards a more perfect union. And I'll do one thing I might mention real quickly. I've been going back on my history and reading some of these books about George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, Ulysses Grant, and all the, and I come to realize that my understanding of American history was not very good growing up, and so I'm recommending those books. Chernow has written a number of really good books. They're a little long, but boy, you get into some of the details of the history of this country, and so I'm learning something from these books. That's sort of what I'm doing in my spare time on Kindle right now. But anyway, I appreciate this group and everybody that's involved. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and that's
it. That's it. That's one of them right there.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to turn off right now, man. I'm glad you mentioned it, brother.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Reverend David Johnson.
Just continue pressing forward, everyone. Press forward in the faith that that we're making a difference. And ditto what David Atwood said about you, Omawali. Not trying to flatter you or anything. I've known you a long time. And I've expressed to you how, how you've had an impact on my life and understanding better the idea of unifying without contentiousness. Let me say it like that.
Like that. And, you mentioned the word contentiousness. I don't want to quote from the Bible on that because I had a contentious person in my household this morning, but she did get on the telephone, Miss Jimmy White. But I did want to say that, Johnson, we appreciate you staying with us during this time period, and I'm glad to have had some impact on a younger person like yourself, and I'm glad you understand that we all have clay feet. Okay, Miss Bradley, Cassie Brandley, we'd like to have any closing comments that you want. I'm gonna ask you all to, as we get near the end of the year, just be aware that we're gonna have a few obligations related to Miss Brandley, and I'm gonna be asking you all to kind of dig, maybe not deep, but dig, because all of this that we do, it requires some material resources, but it also requires a great deal of passion and love from Miss Brandley to have us so situated that we can do this on the frequency that we do it. So Miss Brandley, any comments that you have?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Omowale. This meeting was actually speaking to me dear because I was just speaking with my mother in regards to things that she has to do to get her stuff in order. So I was great that I was able to attend this call and be on this call. And again, to be around such wonderful people. This community is a great community. And I look forward to these calls, even though sometimes we don't meet on, like I thought we had a meeting last week, but as I looked at the calendar, I was like, wait, it's the 2nd and 4th.
Yeah.
But again, these meetings are great. They're very meaningful, very powerful. You learn a lot of different things. And I just like the diversity and, the spirit of everyone just giving and willing to continue to move forward to help the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Aguirre, are you with us?
I am. Excuse me. I've got a lot of background noise. I've got some contractors here this morning, so I've been a little bit multitasking. But I just want to say thank you, especially Ms. Brandley. You are wonderful. We appreciate you. We don't say it enough. And so just from all of our hearts and souls, what you do does not go unappreciated or unnoticed. And Omowale, obviously, you're our fearless agitator. So thank you, for getting this going and keeping it going. And this was a great meeting. I learned a lot as well. I always do. And I love y'all. That's it.
Thank you.
Love you too, sister.
No. I'm glad, I'm glad you're not shy about saying I love you. That's something that I think that we need more of in the world that we live in. So thank you for saying that. I think that Miss Jimmy White. Jimmy, are you there?
Yes, and I love you too, Hood.
You want to check out?
What about me?
We're coming to you next. We coming to you next. We're gonna let you check. So Jimmy, did you want to say anything else?
I think we probably need to, as often as possible, bring attention to options like you had today, where people who are aging can protect themselves from potential scams, government interventions, and can provide them with telephone numbers, worksheets, or whatever, but also that you should figure out some kind of way that people like me who can't do Zoom, doesn't matter that you should be able to, but we can't do Zoom, how we can always get advised of these meetings.
Okay, well, okay. Well, I tell you what, living in the same household with the moderator is one way to get around finding out about these meetings. But I guess we need to break down these silos that we have in the same household, but I think
Miss Jimmy, I'll send you the information. Make sure you have it. You can always call me.
okay.
Okay, I appreciate that. If you could do it by email or text, I could get that, and I can give you some of the people that I asked to come on today. And that we don't do these kinds of public events often, so to be invited is nice.
Yeah, I do want to say, you know, what I can say is that, baby, your comments were very helpful today, and hopefully you'll join us again. And so, Miss Ora, you located in the fair city of Port Arthur, Texas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you hail from Bay City, Texas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I understand that I call it a stadium, but I understand that you just achieved some notoriety by having a track named in your honor.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
But
I've had an
I just
investigator.
wanted to
I've had an investigator out there trying to get information on you.
I just wanted to say I enjoyed the session, and I want to know more about the 3 dots.
Okay. Okay.
If
Yeah.
you-
Well, I tell
If
you,
you
Nora,
find out about them and let me
They're on
know.
the right-hand side at the bottom
Okay.
in chat. You
Yeah.
look in chat and there they are.
But I think she's calling in. So if she's calling in, she won't be able to save it.
yeah. But Aura, on your laptop, we can send it to your email, and once you enable a Zoom app on your email, you'll be able to do it from your, not necessarily from your phone, but you'll be able to do it from a computer or a tablet.
Okay.
And you can just do it from your tablet because you do have a tablet, I know.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much. Give all our regards to our family there in Port Arthur. Did I miss anybody? If I didn't miss anybody in closing, I'd like to just ask you all, anybody who think that they're able to attend or mobilize some attendance for a table that we can have next week at the Slavery Remembrance Day at the Power Center, let me know. And the final thing is that that I'm hoping that we can bring some of the people back. I'd like to see Ms. Brandley. I can't think of that, your friend with the very big, beautiful voice.
Carissa.
Huh?
Carissa Arthur.
Yeah, I miss Miss Arthur. And so I'll, you know, every once in a while we can say hello to Miss Arthur and some of the other people if you want to bring them back. I want to close by saying that I think that in spite of the fact that we might have some good content, sometimes some riveting content, if it's not fun being here with each other, we're probably not going to be able to sustain the excitement about this group. So a lot of times I want you to know I'm being a little cavalier, maybe even a little theatrical, silly, but I think that we have to have a little spice in this to kind of keep it going forward. But if I'm a little off color sometime, all seriousness aside, don't take it personally.